Hello, my name's 𝐬𝐤𝐚𝐥. Welcome back to another Sketchbook and Yap, the video where I talk about things that I would feel like I was wasting time if I brought up in therapy, but I need to let them out somehow. I'm currently sitting with a hot water bottle on my toes. I am so cold. Moving on. There are so many more of you. I keep mentioning it because it took off. Suddenly there's, like 1,000 people more than there were last week. So, hello, welcome to Sketchbook and Yap. I mean, I get it. I am delightful, so I understand why everyone's subscribing, but it is a bit daunting. First, I will mention what I'm working on. I'm working with markers and coloured pencils, mostly. I wanted to do a marker portrait. That was number one. That was what I went into this entire spread wanting to do. And then everything else is just happenstance. It is just me knowing that I needed to fill the entire spread. As always, all my supplies are in the description. And that includes the exact shade colors that I am using as well. Okay, I know this is an art channel, but I genuinely feel like the art is the least important thing about these videos. Topic number one, last Sketchbook and Yap, I mentioned a TV show named Baby Borrowers, and I was questioning my own sanity and wondering if I had kind of Mandela effect an entire television show. I was wondering if my work in television was seeping into my subconsciousness, where I was making up memories of television shows that never happened. Good news! I know you've all been waiting with bated breath for this. It is, in fact, a real television show. Originally, it's a British show, but I watched the American version. I cannot find anywhere to watch the show except some random clips on YouTube at the level of quality you would expect from clips from a show from 2007, 2008. I watched one clip from the show. The way the contestants on this show look, it was like, oh yeah, this was what I thought was cool when I was 9 years old. Like, the fashion, the layers, the sunglasses, it's interesting. I will continue. If anyone knows where I can watch this show, please let me know. Because I'm Googling it, and every time I click, because one showed up that was like, oh, watch Baby Borrowers here, and I'm like, yeah. And I click it, and this just empty Google page shows up, and they're like, this doesn't exist. What do you mean it doesn't? Like, it's scrubbed from the internet. Like, it is nowhere. It is nowhere. Have you guys heard of 𝐬𝐸? I don't know if that's how they pronounce their name. Haven't looked into it. They are a painter who every year, like clockwork, shows up on my For You page on TikTok because they are participating in the annual duck competition. Like, there is a federal duck stamp competition. And every year, 𝐬𝐸 shows up on my For You page, and I'm like, oh, it's that time of year again, is it? It's time. It's time for me to look at way too many painting processes of ducks. I was not aware that there were this many different types of ducks. So, I mean, I guess the competition is doing its job, like bringing attention to it, because you have my attention, that's for sure. You have my full attention. Federal duck stamp competition. Apparently, the competition raises money for wetlands and wildlife conservation. So I can't say anything too nasty because then I would just be an arse. And to be quite fair, I don't have anything negative to say about it. There is nothing that I can see about this competition that is negative. I love seeing people with niche interests and obsessions. Like, genuinely, every year when Kira shows up on my For You page, I'm like, oh, good for you. Genuinely, good for you. I hope you have fun with this year's duck. And just like a swift transition from the sentence, I love seeing other people's weird interests, into I can't explain to you how much I have this weird interest and love for the lore behind the American Girl dolls. Last year, there was a creator named 𝐬𝐸𝐿 who made a 6-hour-long video essay about 𝐬𝐿, the American Girl doll. Kate went through the books. She went through, like, she did crafts. She did analysis. She went through the history of Swedish settlers in Minnesota. And I loved every single second of it. You can bet your bottom dollar that I was on the fucking internet looking up every single little informational article about the history behind the original American Girl dolls. So a month ago, when I saw that she'd uploaded a 4-hour-long part 1 on Samantha, the American Girl doll named Samantha, hand on my heart, I cried. I was so excited. It felt like a television show that you've been waiting for a new season. You've been waiting for a new season and it finally drops and you're so excited. I love a good video essay. I love a long, like, unnecessarily long video about something. It doesn't even have to be a video essay. I don't know. I no longer know what, like, qualifies as a video essay. I just know that if the timestamp of a video is like 7 hours, count me in. It's so good. I don't know what it is. I've always been like a history buff. I'm really looking forward to Molly because I am, okay, and I know this is like what we on the internet lovingly refer to as a red flag when it comes to men, but I am fascinated by the world wars, and Molly is in fact from the Second World War. I am talking about these dolls as if they are real. They are not. Mind you, these are not real people. Anyways, really looking forward to part 2 of Samantha. I do think I prefer 𝐬𝐿 to Samantha, because maybe it's that 𝐬𝐿's Scandinavian, so like certain things that she does and the way that her family behaves, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Which, like, the story is set in the 1800s, I believe. Is it weird that I see behavior from 1854 and just go, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about Scandinavian. Like, a little girl dies on a boat and we just kind of have to glaze over it. And I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. It's not for nothing that people say that Scandinavians are cold. And it's not just because of the weather up here, all right? Like, you don't make an eye contact with someone is seen as a personal threat. Like, people are legally allowed to, like, stab you if you sit next to them on the bus. Another thing that happened we're already on the subject. Last year, I cleaned out my mum's apartment. I feel like I'm every time. Okay, I promise next video I will not mention my dead mum. My mum died last year, and as her only child, I did in fact have to deal with everything, including her apartment. And I had to clean that apartment out. And at one point I was like, well, I am hiring a moving company to deal with, like, the big furniture, because I'm not dismantling these beds. Like, that's not happening. So, and this is a long saga, so, like, sit back. because as I was taking notes for this, my pulse went up. It stresses me out, but it is also so fucking funny. Because, like long story short, I was threatened with going to court, and that this guy was going to leave really mean comments on my social media because he didn't like my Google review. Anyways, I use a service that compiles different moving companies to try to find the best deal. And I, like an idiot, chose the one that I figured had the best deal. The things I didn't pay with money, I made up with stress. All right, I should have picked one of the other companies. I would have been more expensive, but oh my god, it would have saved me so much anxiety. It was already, before anything even happened, it was a kind of he wasn't the best at communicating, did not send me a contract before, he sent me, a quote, this is how much it's going to be an hour for these people. And I said, okay. Never sent me any more information. So the day before he was supposed to arrive, and I was apprehensive at that point. I was like, I'm getting a bad feeling. Hey kids, if you're getting a bad feeling, that's called intuition. And there's probably a reason for it. I was having a bad feeling. So the evening before, I emailed him and I was like, hey, you haven't given me any more information. So I'm just letting you know that I am taking what you have informed me, the information you have given me, I'm taking that as that's final. That's no surprises. They show up, 3 guys. They do a fine job. There were certain things that I wasn't really happy about, and I'm like, well, these are a bunch of moving guys. Didn't really give me any time to look at the contract. They just started tearing shit apart, making an insane amount of noise. I felt so bad for the neighbors. But they started working. At the end, they leave. We say goodbye. And then I get a text message from the business owner, I guess. He was the one who had emailed me. He was not there on the day. He sent me a text message on my phone saying, hi, yada, 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 here's the bill. And then I asked, hey, can I get a bill with more than just what you want me to pay? Can I get an itemized bill? So he sent me that. And then I disagreed. And I was like, hey, it feels like you've added more hours than that should be here. And then he's like, okay, fine, I'll take some hours off. And this is where the buffoonery starts. I left a negative review on Google and all hell broke loose. And looking back at it now, I should have paid the bill and then left a review. I need you to know that I thought I'd pay the bill. Apparently I hadn't pushed send. So I figured I'd pay the bill, and then I left the Google review, and he was furious. He then tries to call me. I already have a phone anxiety, and I'm so glad I did not pick up that phone, because I was, once again, getting vibes, and I didn't like the vibes I was getting. So he tries to call me, and I don't pick up. And then he texts me. He cancels the bill, so I'm not able to pay it. He cancels the bill, and he's real angry. He says, I don't want to be nice to you because you're not nice to me. Once again, I like to remind you, I am. And I'm not a person who's the customer's always right. But I'd like to remind you that he is a customer service representative. And I am a private person. He is not talking like someone who wants to make their business look good. Let's just say that. I'd like to read you some of my favorite excerpts from some of the text messages. I won't read you all of it, and I won't read you all of mine, because most of my texts were just, hey, don't talk to me like that. And a lot of the time he was just repeating himself. So I'd like to read you some excerpts. Sprinkled in between all of these texts, he kept repeating that and going that you're not going to pay. You don't have any money. Yada, yada, yada. these text messages that I'm about to read to you occur over a couple of hours. So he's getting real angry and accusatory of me not paying my bills over a 3-hour period. He sent me the bill. He sent me one bill. We have an exchange where I say that, hey, you're overcharging me. He sends me a new bill. I leave a Google review, and then he starts accusing me of refusing to pay. This is a 3-hour period. All of this is happening. There's so much happening in such a limited amount of time. First quote, these are sections from one singular text message. First part, if I knew you were a bully, I would have never worked or made a dime off of you. If I asked you for a positive review, I would have never gotten it. And then another section says, a bad review does not mean that I am a bad person or that my company is unreliable. I work hard for my money and never get things for free. And if you're inheriting money, you're so lucky you don't have to work for it. Mind you, this is a man who has been hired specifically to clean out a dead person's apartment. Like, he has been informed that what he is cleaning out is my dead mum's estate. And he decides to message me that I'm so lucky that I'm inheriting money because I don't have to work for it. Hey, buddy. That is an insane thing to say to someone who has just lost a parent. Like, say you don't have to agree with me. But that is, in fact, like, even if you want to be like, okay, but like, you don't need to be professional. You know, we can argue till the fucking cows come home about if customer service people need to actually be kind. And sometimes, genuinely, they don't. But saying to someone that you're so lucky that you don't have to work for your money because your parent died is an insane way to start off a text message exchange. I then answered, hey, I don't think that message was particularly nice or professional. He then starts threatening my social media and my business because he has obviously searched up my name. Unfortunately, my actual name is a pretty uncommon one. There's no one else with my name. So it is very obvious that I am the only person that is showing up when you search for my name. So he obviously has searched for my name, found out that I have, in fact, a business because of my line of work. I work a lot of freelance jobs, so I do need to have a business to send bills to clients. And obviously, I have social media. You're here, aren't you? He is talking about how I'm not as nice as I portray myself on social media, and that he's going to leave a review for my business about how horrible I am of a person, which, to my knowledge, is like kind of weird because you've not worked with me in a professional setting. If he hired me to make a commercial for his moving company and I did a terrible job, feel free. But my business didn't hire you to clean out my dead mum's apartment, did it? He then threatens to take me to court, and he keeps harping about how I don't have money. Buddy, 4 text messages ago, you were talking about how I'm so lucky that I don't need to work for my money because my mum died and I just get money for free. So which one is it? Am I poor and I don't have money? Or am I just so lucky that I have so much money because my mum died? Make your mind up. Come on, keep your facts straight. I tell him that I'll check it out if the money hasn't been transferred by the afternoon next day. He's not happy about that. Once again, like to remind you, this is over a couple of hours. I sent the message like, hey, I'll check it out tomorrow. That is 4 hours after the first text message with the first bill before any of this started. He then says, do not lie, with 3 exclamation points. You've lied enough. And then I say, You're getting paid and I have the money, don't worry. But the way you're talking to me is not okay. Don't get yourself worked up about a bill that you sent 4 hours ago. I'll pay you the originally agreed upon amount, and after that, I don't want you to contact me anymore. 4 hours ago. And the part where I said, don't get yourself worked up, worked him up quite a bit more, actually. Then another excerpt from a new text message reads, how do you want me to treat you? Like a princess? You know, I'm legally allowed to write about you online. I'll go on to every single one of your videos and write about this because you're treating me like shit, with 3 exclamation points. I am not getting worked up. Which is a really funny sentence when you've just used 3 exclamation points. Next day, I see that the payment hasn't gone through, so I text him and I'm like, hey, could you send me the link again because it's not going through? He won't send me a new link. Instead, he starts talking about my YouTube again. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm trying to give you money here. You're harping on about my social media and how I have this. He's like, oh, and you like people watching you, which like sounds weird. Like, what are you on about? Like, this is getting weird. It was weird 16 hours ago, but now it's getting even weirder. I tell him that my social media and private life is none of his business and that he should stop commenting on it. I'm just trying to pay a bill here. Like, I am asking you to let me give you money and you won't stop talking about the fact that I have a YouTube channel. Then 4 messages. He sends me 4 messages where he keeps harping on about the review, and I just ask, hey, can I get a copy of the contract on email? And then he says, well, if you don't agree with something with me, you'll have to email it to me. Mind you, he texted me. Like, I didn't text him. He texted me wanting me to pay him by giving me the information via text message. Like, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm complying. I send him an email once again. I'm like, hey, referring to our text messages, I'd like a copy of the contract. And then he keeps once again talking about my review. And I'm like, hey, seems like you're trying to hint at me to take down the review. And he says, and I quote, well, if you don't agree with the price, then I don't agree with your review. Which is really funny because a review is literally a subjective opinion. A review is, for all intents and purposes, for people to leave their own opinions. I don't need you to agree with me. I don't need your permission to not like the way you're talking to me. It then moved over to email. And at this point, he kept talking about taking me to court, yada, yada, yada. My anxiety was through the roof. Like, I wasn't sleeping. And at one point, I was just like, hey, the 3K that you are trying to take me to court over is not worth it. I'll just send you that money. I won't take down my review. So I just sent him. I just paid the full amount that he tried to ask for me in the first place, and that he, was real adamant that I didn't have money for. I just paid it to him, and then I blocked his number. I have later thought about celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the review with a little update to it, with some fun quotes and additional info. But I don't know if my heart could handle another text exchange with this man. Genuinely. It felt like a speed run through a horrible, horrible, toxic relationship. Like, why am I getting yelled at and called a liar by a random man I have never met? The funniest part to me is just how insanely fast he escalated to like finding my social media and threatening to take me to court over a Google review. And I know that he's like most likely not seen these videos. But I almost hope he is. I almost hope he's like still thinking about me and regularly checking in with my social media. And I hope he has the day he deserves. Let's just say that. Now that my pulse is just sufficiently high, let's talk about another stressful thing that happened last year. A lot of things happened last year, obviously. While I was cleaning out my mom's apartment, I made a TikTok. I made a TikTok that went viral. And going viral is something that I would never recommend to anyone, because nobody, not a single human being, is made to have millions of people look at them out of the blue. That is why I am such a huge defender of growing slowly, because if I woke up tomorrow and there was suddenly 200,000 subscribers on this channel, I don't think I would have uploaded another video, because that is too much for one person to handle at one time. I am like growing my audience at a pace where it doesn't feel insane. Like I am seeing a number rise at a regular pace. But that video currently has over 3 million views. And honestly, I'm almost glad because the sound was taken off TikTok. I made a TikTok to the sound of the Hungry Caterpillar audio, the one that's like 6 nuclear bombs. Like it was basically, you talked about something that escalates quickly. And the audio was taken off TikTok, and I'm honestly happy that it was, because after that, I experienced peace. Like that TikTok obviously isn't getting recommended to people anymore. And oh my God, my life is so much better for it. I had to turn my phone off, like literally turn my phone completely off, because it gave me so much anxiety. Because as we know, people in the TikTok comment section are different. Like they are not kind. I don't know if I'd rather deal with the TikTok comment section or that man from the moving company. Like genuinely shitty people all around. People were so angry because I said that I wouldn't mention my dead parents in the next video. Didn't say that I wouldn't mention it more in this one. Made a joke. It was about dead parents, and people were real angry and mean. Like I made a joke about their parents, not mine. Who, mind you, both are dead. Dead and buried, they don't care. But people were real angry and real mean. And also, I don't know which one was worse. The people that were real angry and mean and acted like they knew my parents personally, or the people that have no boundaries and were like expecting me to make a story time video about how my parents died. Genuinely, people were like, oh, that's so sad, story time? Oh, that condolences, story time? Question mark, cowboy emoji? Hey, I'm going to hold your figurative hand as I say this. If you wouldn't look a stranger in the eye, or even better, if you wouldn't say and ask this question to a stranger in front of a bunch of other people that you don't know. Like if in a crowded environment, you are standing in a group of like 10 people that you don't know. If someone mentions that they have a dead parent, if you wouldn't then look at that person and go, oh, that sucks. Give me a story time version. Like, tell me what happened in details. If you wouldn't do that in front of a bunch of other people that you don't leave that comment then. Just don't. Sometimes I get anxiety at the memory of how I felt from that video. Like people were horrible. People were horrible. Yeah, just people just mean and weird. And some people were kind, but obviously we all know how it works. You know, you can get 10 kind comments and then one person calls you ugly and that's the one you'll stick with. Anyways, 𝐬𝐤𝐤𝐿 has a new album. A bit over a month ago, 𝐬𝐤𝐤𝐤 came out with The Great Impersonator. I was so happy. I was really happy. I was also kind of nervous because I wasn't a huge fan of their last album. I did not vibe with If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. Kind of hoping that we were moving away from the heavy rock influence and 9 Inch Nails produces. And so, there are certain artists that have like the coolest way of doing certain things. And 𝐬𝐤𝐤𝐤 is one of those artists that I bow down because they are so good at immersing their audience into things. Like they made a website that changed around, and you had to like look for clues. If you press the right images, you would be taken to like snippets of songs. They are just very good at what they do. And they were releasing little snippets of the songs, you know, leading up to the album release. And as I was listening to these snippets, I was like, okay, kind of like, whew, okay, I think we're onto something. Manic is my favorite 𝐬𝐤𝐚𝐥 album. It's still my favorite 𝐬𝐤𝐚𝐥 album. The Great Impersonator has not managed to top Manic for me. However, as of now, I am placing The Great Impersonator at a second spot. If you are wondering what the ranking I have for 𝐬𝐤𝐚𝐥 albums, it's Manic at the top, then The Great Impersonator, then Badlands, Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, and then If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power at the bottom. I also made a ranking on Instagram of all the songs on The Great Impersonator. I took it so seriously. I was reading and analysing lyrics as I was listening to the songs. And the ranking is in my highlights on Instagram. I can already tell you, I don't agree with it anymore. I mean, I did title it, not in any way definite, so you were warned. Like, I was going to change my opinion on the songs. There were certain songs that people had very different opinions on. I personally love The Great Impersonator, and some people felt like the ah-ahing sound was weird and grating, which I get. That is why I love that song. It is my favorite part of the song when she does her little Björk impression. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, girl, make those noises. And then, and my last point before we get to the point where you guys are involved, because believe it or not, I have started doing audience participation in these videos. You are now allowed to participate in Sketchbook and 𝐬𝐤𝐚. I know that up until now it has just been me talking at you. You aren't leaving any opinions until after the fact, but now you can leave comments and suggest topics or leave me questions, and then I get to talk about them. So it's like, not you. As long as I'm talking, I'm fine with it. As long as I get to be the center of attention, everything's good and dandy with me. Last point before we get into your questions. Netflix has games? Question mark? I was on Netflix and I'm scrolling and I see a game section. And I know that I've like previously seen it and been like, oh, what do you mean games? And then I decided to investigate further. I clicked onto the actual game tab. And silly me thinking, I'm just going to check this out for funsies. Flash forward, I am leaning over my iPad like a 3-year-old toddler, tapping around, trying to solve a murder mystery detective game at 3 a.m. I had to gentle parent myself to put the iPad away because I was getting, I needed to go to bed. The premise of the game is you are inside of a phone, like you are using a telephone to contact other detectives and other like suspects and like do interviews. And it's not like, there's nothing groundbreaking about this, but I honestly brain rot. I had so, I swallowed it whole. I was so immersed in this goddamn game. I don't think I finished it. I think I had to put the game away, and then it was more one of those things that as you're doing it, it feels like time is moving so fast, but the moment it's put away, you're kind of looking at it like, what the hell was that? That was weird. And then you move on. Okay, it's your turn now. We have 2 comments. I made a community post asking for questions. And like, I know that most people aren't really looking at the community tab. Every time I get comments and likes on the community tab, I'm like, all right, hello. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, you can leave it in the comment section here. That is probably easier for the both of us, to be quite frank. But for the two people that were willing to play along with me, we have Demon Eyes, who asked what art supplies and media I like the least to work with, like which one just stresses me out. With so much love, me and paint in general have beef. Paint is messy, I can never get the color right, and I mainly work in my sketchbook, so the paper is warping. And it's not like I don't hate paint, but of all the mediums that I usually work with, that one is the one where I kind of go into the experience already kind of fuming. Like, I'm already on edge. I'm also realizing that fine liners piss me off because unless I do stippling work, I'm not really getting any gradients and shading. I don't like the way hatchwork looks, so don't even try to comment it. If you are already starting to type it out, hit the back button. Like, I don't want to hear it. Markers stress me out because of the bleed through, first of all, and also you can't erase or cover things up. With pencil and paint, there's kind of an undo button. Like, you can erase pencils and you can just cover up paint with more paint. But with markers, you're fucked. And I love working with markers, but it is kind of stressful sometimes going, I hope this isn't the wrong choice. Because if it is, I don't know how to solve the problem. And then someone talks about me making fun of dating app profiles, specifically Hinge profiles, and then asking what a good attention-grabbing response would be. I have, in fact, everybody, deleted Hinge. Rest in peace to my 6-week stint on the dating market. It was... I won't even say it was fun while it lasted. Because that would be a lie. I'm just gonna say, the one thing I can say is to put something funny on your profile, and it needs to be funny in a sense that it isn't clearly copy-pasted. Like, I want an original experience. One of my prompts was me admitting that I have had to watch how to parallel park YouTube tutorials as I was trying to do the parallel parking several times. That is a good prompt answer, in my opinion, because that is an original experience, alright? I do not want to see another person saying that they love skiing. We're in Norway. I know, okay? Give me something better. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode of Sketchbook and Yap. Thank you for letting me talk at you. I have enough talking points saved up for like 3 more of these videos. My mind is never on a break. It is never giving me rest. Follow me on my other social media. I'm Lonely Girl Studio everywhere. And, we've reached the end. I'll see you later. Goodbye.